Three, two, one. Welcome back to the Jeremiah Show. My special guest today, returning to the show after many, many years. I lost her, and now we've got her back. Jessica Elizabeth Davenport. I did not lose. I did keep up with what she's doing, and it's fascinating. And we're talking about Terminal 9 today on the show. So before the break, we talked a little bit about what Terminal 9 is and your life as an architect, as an artist, as a musician, and how they've come together um, and complement each other perfectly. And you've been able to take that and the inspiration and your vision and really make it something pretty extraordinary. Um, can you tell me, Jessica, as about your idea of music as a portal? And do you believe that it is?
Sure. I think it's a an entry into another world. I think that's why people love listening to records. I think it's a bit of an escape and it helps you, kind of drift to another place, an emotional state, usually. And
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Um, how do you, when you were forming the band Strictly Elizabeth, first, would you mention the band members that play, or do they change out a lot, or
Yeah, I
who are
mean
you
it's
working
a
with
it's a
right now?
rotating cast of contributors, but it all kind of boils down to me as the songwriter, and the artistic voice. Terminal 9, a lot of it I was able to create much more independently, given the tools that are out there now, and just using my lyrics and my poetry and my ideas, my production ideas about these incarnations, whether it's a rap song or an R&B song or a folk song. And with the help of Ira Ingber, worked with me a lot on the what we called the mastering of these songs, which was really great. It was a new process. And then some of it's, more the traditional process, working in the studio with a lot of amazing, talented studio session players and producers. So it,
I love him. He's an amazing, incredible. Play with Dylan, if I remember correctly. He's been on the show a few times.
yeah, yeah, I love
Ira's a
it.
good guy. Yeah, it's a good guy. What amazing band members. Um, so was this hard to sell the concept of Strictly Elizabeth to the band members? How did you do that? I was imagining you pitching this idea to them. How did that
Well, I didn't. I just did what I wanted to do.
go?
And everybody else, it's is kind of, on a they either want to be part of the project or they don't. I think there was maybe a few places where my frustration with the vision that I had, being kind of misaligned with maybe the direction that a producer, for instance, wanted to take something, was a real learning opportunity for me. And I'm not unfamiliar with these things. I mean, especially working on very large, complex architecture and engineering projects. I mean, there's lots of forks in the road and lots of points of conflict that you have to resolve. So, what has been kind of the continuous thread through this is the advancement of technology and the ability to kind of lean into technological advancement to solve some of these problems. And so that for me really unlocked the door in terms of being able to do this project in the time span that I was, because all of a sudden I could just say, okay, well, you know, I don't have the same vision as this other collaborator that I'm working with. And so, it's probably better if we continue down different roads. But now I can do what I had in mind much more independently, and keep the project going. It doesn't have to stall, it doesn't have to stop, because, one particular avenue didn't work out.
Can you give me an example of that?
Uh,
A situation where that you had a different vision and then you were able to use technology. to solve the problem?
Sure. So there was one song called KOS, and that was something that I had written with a producer, and we were kind of going through the more traditional route of, you know, creating a dance song. And in my mind, I had these characters. I had the time, I had the place, I knew exactly what was going on in the scene, and I knew what I wanted it to sound like. And that just wasn't lining up with his vision of what he wanted me as the artist to be projected as out in the world. And so at a certain point, I realized, okay, this is one of those points of conflict that needs resolution. And I think that the best way to do that is to go in separate directions. I mean, sometimes that happens. And so I was kind of disappointed until I realized I can take my lyrics, you know, the song that we had created, and now kind of be my own producer with it. And so through exploring that through new software that's available, I was able to get the sound that I wanted to create the scene and the emotional state that I was after. And Ira helped me in terms of the fidelity and kind of added some layers to it. And there we had it. It was the song that I had in my mind, in my imagination. So
Was it totally 100% what you had
yeah,
imagined?
it better
So
than
I've heard this, and so it sounds like it's exciting. It sounds like a scary time to musicians when they look at it that way. But when musicians look at it like, well, like you are, it gives me it gives you more opportunity to fulfill the vision in the way that you see it as the artist, without bringing in a lot of collaborators that all put
are
their piece
expensive
into it.
too.
Yeah,
There's
or
that.
offended.
And what
So
I would really like to do, not to cut you off, but to continue on that is to me, it was a way to fast track getting to the human uh, element of it. Because the idea for me was to bring these songs into reality, into performance, into live performance. So it was a way to kind of create the sketch faster and create the awareness and the connection through digital recording that would then draw the audience to the actual performance
hmm.
with people performing these songs and musicians performing them live. And then, you know, you record the live performance, and then you have another, you know, sphere of this orbit around something that is the center point is this initial seed, you know, of intention, of self-expression.
Did you feel before you started discovering new ways to work as an artist, did you feel that you had limitations before as an artist? That there were just just limitations that what you could do before. But now
Well,
with AI and these tools that you talk about in software, you're able to really go further. And is that exciting?
yeah, but I would say that there's always limitations. Time, money, resources, material. I mean, these are all lessons I've learned through, again, through architecture that I can, you know, apply to whatever medium, you know, be it film or music. And a lot of times working within the limitations is part of the process. I think that what has again been the thread of through all of these mediums is technological advancement. And to me, it's not so much about um, it really is about time. And time is such a difficult thing because you can't make more of it. You know,
Mhm.
it's the most expensive thing you have. And so being able to manipulate the time for the various phases of a project is what really unlocked the doors to new types of creativity.
Hmm. Hmm. So interesting. How many the I don't know how if we lump this into one, but you've let's say, what happened to Stephanie. has now the character has evolved and is now in Terminal 9, and it feels like, and correct me if I'm wrong, the story was born in one with one character or two characters, but then has grown into more. It grew into Strictly Elizabeth, the music that accompanied it, and the video and all that. How many years have you been working on the project, if I could call it that, if it's
Yeah.
one project, or is it multiple projects? But it,
It's definitely one project.
okay,
I have a tendency, and this again comes from my years of working on multiple projects at the same time. And sometimes you start a concept and somebody says, "Oh, I don't want to do that anymore." You put it on a shelf, and they call you 10 years later, and you pick it back up. So that's not unfamiliar to me. What is now Terminal 9, it has a name, started as a collection of poems and songs and melodies. Um, like I said, back in my early 20s with Baby Come On, that, was a song that I'd written then. But I had to kind of make a cutoff point. So the cutoff point for me was 2023. So everything that I had written, that I'd done up until 2023, I said, I'm putting this all in a book, all in a notebook, and this is going to be Terminal 9. And so, in a way, that kind of freed me then, because 2024, I was still writing songs, but those now are kind of the next chapter. It's a new project. And it also, for me, was a point where I could continue to evolve and grow as myself, as Jessica, and in a new chapter. So I guess you could say been working on it, for 20 years.
wow, wow, yeah, it feels like you've been at it for a little while, and it's growing. Um, would you consider this your life's work? This pro
No, 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 no.
No?
Because I'm going to have a very long life. Frank Lloyd Wright did some of his best work in his 80s. This is only the beginning.
I like that. I like that answer. My special guest today, Jessica Elizabeth Davenport. Go to her website, strictlyelizabeth.com. You can find and join, by the way, while you're there. Don't just poke around, join it. And get involved in Terminal 9 and the various stories and the music. There's a lot there, and there's a lot to explore. And believe me, you're going to enjoy every minute of it. Artist and architect Jessica Elizabeth Davenport, founder and creative director of Terminal 9, and the visionary creator of the music project Strictly Elizabeth, which we are listening to as we go to break here on each break. And at the very end, we're going to premiere her new single, which is called Princess Palace. We'll be right back.